exactly, because it's just the opposite of everything we just did. So here, in the contraction phase of the business cycle, what is our problem?
Unemployment.
Unemployment is over what?
5%.
5 to 6%. Okay, so I need to graph the problem. So, with aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So this is price level, this is real GDP. Here is my aggregate supply curve. Here is my aggregate demand curve. And which way do I graph my second aggregate demand curve to show unemployment? Which way do I graph it? To the left, right? Because this shows that my economy is not making much, right? So the price level has what?
Drop.
So, what policy will the government run?
Easy.
Well, not easy
Oh.
money, the government.
Government.
What fiscal policy?
Government spending is tax cuts.
Okay, so the fiscal policy is they're gonna increase government spending and decrease what?
Taxes.
So this is called expansionary. Fiscal policy.
Ms. Redin,
Yes.
why is this graph not the budget one?
Cause I just drew a straight line, they're perfectly fine. The other one you could curve them, usually that's how they look when they put in all the data, it's curved. I just drew straight lines.
Essentially, all that is just really zoomed in to the point of intersection.
Yeah, but, when if you ever take like econ in college, like your curves will always be curved. Because when they get in all the data, it takes a summative of it, a mean of it. But for the sake of graphing, they will always take just straight lines. Just in case you were like, oh my gosh, I didn't curve my lines on the 8, I promise you, they take the straight lines. Okay, so even with our Phillips curve, if you just drew a straight line for a Phillips curve, they'd be like, that's fine. Cause even like when I show you I'm gonna show you the answer keys for their responses. Even their answer keys, look. They're straight lines. You see that? Okay, and that's what they'll tell people to take, so, don't worry about it. Okay. So now, after the tools, we need to graph what will happen to aggregate demand. So I need to graph it originally at a recession, right? So if the government increases government spending and decreases taxes, what happens to people's aggregate demand?
It goes up.
It goes up.
So it goes to the right, right? I have a parent who's upset with me because I was on a field trip on Friday and I did not call her on Friday. She's like, I emailed you 3 times to call me. I was like, I'm sorry, I was on a field trip. I did respond to your emails.
Plot twist, it's one of my favorites.
No, it isn't. She's asking about study guides. Because I didn't give full credit to her son who only did 1 through 6 when he was required to do 1 through 18.
What's the problem?
He should have 100.
He should
She
have
said
one
he
through.
should have 100.
He should have a 33.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Did you give him a 33?
No, I didn't.
What should they give him?
Because I take it over 4 days, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 4 times, he got a 75.
That's better than what you could've given.
That's, I
Way
see, I
better.
would've just gave him
Because I take it over 4 days, so some of y'all notice, like, if I miss one day, I'm not gonna die immediately off that study guide grade. So she's upset, because he should have gotten 100.
He didn't even complete it.
Yeah.
He should do
And
better.
it's just a study guide.
That's
right?
his problem,
It's
not.
never, it's
No,
never
but
the
that's
student's
keeping
fault.
him from being valedictorian, even though he's 113th in his class.
What?
That's,
Wait, that's not what you said,
again,
right?
that's
That's
his,
funny.
I think that's his problem,
That's
not yours, Miss
That's my
Renee.
snark, sorry.
That's funny.
No.
Wait, so she didn't say that?
No, but I'm keeping him from being up there in the top.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, he has potential of that. I was like,
No,
yeah, I looked up.
okay.
Not
I went and looked up.
You're
You went-
113.
I
I
went and looked up,
5
and I was like 113.
You're
right?
113 and you're what, a junior?
Aaron, there's no potential. You didn't carry it
I don't
away, and
know,
Sarah's just gone.
Your potential is rapidly diminishing.
I was like, he's,
Sorry.
and I don't understand that the mom doesn't know who Liliana Armstrong is,
Yeah.
that he will never top her.
Right.
Basically, nobody
Because she
can
will
top
eat
her.
him before that happens. But
Wait,
Mr. Armstrong will eat her,
Eat him.
eat him.
Yeah, Mr.
Miss Reedy, was that a fat joke or was it?
No, it wasn't.
I don't know her, so I don't know if you were making
No,
a
she's
joke.
just that
I was-
aggressive, like,
Oh,
Never
okay.
met her.
she's gonna be valedictorian.
Wait, who?
Liliana
Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong's daughter.
It's not that important.
Not if I have anything to do with it. What does she
She's
done?
like-
No, she's not even in your grade.
I don't care what she does.
Call me the reclassified.
I don't know, she teleports, Cole. That's how she is. She's like
teleports-
everywhere.
No,
Okay, we're done.
she goes through the laws of physics.
Yeah, I have no clue.
You're gonna
She'll
edit
go
the
through
video
It's
and
funny.
just like cut out or.
Elijah was so funny.
Elijah was
Elijah-
nuts.
Elijah-
Not a single thing he was good at.
He
He
was
was
good
like
at sitting in the
Maestro.
back of my room making snarky jokes
He
on
was-
everything.
He excelled at mediocrity at literally.
That's true, and he also excelled at playing bass drum very, very loudly.
Yeah, he's
Every
he's
kickoff.
bad at that.
Every single kickoff.
He was just so funny. And I didn't even know that was Mr. Armstrong's son. And he was like, thank you for accepting me for being me. And I was like, I didn't even know you were his son. Like, how was I accepting of you? I just laughed at you all the time.
Dude,
Okay,
he's living his best life with kids right now.
really?
Yeah,
Away from everything?
yeah. I don't think he goes to any of his classes, but we'll see.
I
It's
wouldn't
really
put it
funny
past him to skip everything.
I have a lot of people within that class that he was in that it was just like they never went to school. And it was just like, they're loving college. I was like, because you're not in it.
A lot of people keep telling me that though. They're like, I saw one of my friends, a lot of them came down Friday for the football game. And I was talking to him and all these. I was like, how's school? And he goes, oh, it's good considering I never showed up to any of my classes.
Yeah, so they're probably not passing any of them.
You're paying just to fail.
Yes, it's a very expensive degree, but C's make degrees.
Now I'm following that until.
Yeah, I definitely feel that.
Okay, now that we got sidetracked, because of expansionary fiscal policy, what will happen to aggregate demand?
It will up it.
No, because it was
Oh,
here,
it will,
now
it
it
will.
goes what?
Up.
Up, what happened to real GDP? What happened to price level? It went
Right.
up,
Technically.
technically to the right. What happened to inflation?
It went up.
Up. Look,
Only
inflation.
unemployment goes down.
Unemployment then. Is the
Unemployment went down.
Yeah.
What type of budget did the government run?
Deficit.
Deficit. Sorry.
Can we just stop like running deficit in the current government?
Bless you.
The fact that
Okay, to avoid any additional rumors, we have exam exemptions. We are developing a new exam exemption policy that'll be pushed out on Friday.
Yay.
Yes.
Apparently, I don't know if it's not, but
Hallelujah! They actually got wise for once.
you'll get like juniors and seniors will get 2 exemptions, and they can only miss 1 day in like during the class.
Never.
Okay, now that's bull crap. That's complete bull crap. Bring back the old laws.
Hey, 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 I have have a very easy final exam. It's over personal finance. Most people make A's.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Just take it and then use wherever your exemption needs.
Wait, so we already.
This is the
Are
only
you
class
sure
that
that's
I
easy?
needed.
Keyword.
Because I'm not
most.
that physics.
Are you, but are you
I'm trying to
kidding
think
me?
of someone who I had
This
that shouldn't have
this.
gotten an A, got an A. Do you know Adam Bruce?
We're not getting four?
No.
Adam Bruce should have never gotten an A, but
He's
he
the
got
one
an
you
A.
talk about
That's
all
what
the
you-
time.
Oh, yeah.
But they said they're just.
Okay, yes.
Does that mean that you get exemptions this year?
Apparently, she says exemptions will be pushed out on Friday.
This-
Wait, but like.
But
how
that
do
doesn't
we
make
know?
sense.
That could be a lack of exemption.
Will they tie into AP exams as it is last year?
No, they won't.
Okay, cool.
She has
Because
been
that
told,
was, I'm sorry, but that
she
was
has been
BS
told that
last year.
cannot happen
Ever again in like
ever
history of
again,
high
because
school.
basically someone's paying for their exam.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
It's
not equity
bribery.
and access,
Oh,
because someone
exactly.
who's low
Jeez.
income could not afford their exam,
Mhm.
basically
Can I get an amen?
That's why I said,
but it's just if they
that's why
got
I
a
said it was
scholarship.
BS last year.
Okay,
So
okay,
wait, so
Because
exemptions
the
don't apply to regular
AP
classes?
exam thing
I
last
have
year
no
was
clue,
Oh.
I have no
Yes.
clue, it's Friday, Friday.
Oh, all that information is going out.
Friday, Colton, you will not be here, Friday.
You sent me the email, you
Yeah.
forwarded me the email?
Oh, I
Okay.
won't be here either, so.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get everything done by Thursday, so we're just doing binders on Friday. Okay, sorry, Sarah, on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
okay, she's
Sorry,
like
I have to
pausing.
do this.
Okay, now let's look at this. We need to graph the aggregate demand, short run aggregate supply, long run aggregate supply with what problem? We need what problem?
Unemployment.
I need unemployment, so what type of gap is that? A contractionary gap, that's fine. We can call it contractionary or recessionary gap. So I need to draw everything to get this graph. I need to draw first everything at equilibrium, so I'm just gonna star everything up. Make a little star.
Oh,
That line was terrible.
Are you kidding? Mine are
Wow.
absolutely, oh wait. You might wanna add the SR on your.
Oh yeah, sorry,
You tell her. Wow.
thanks. So I need to draw a contractionary or recessionary gap. Which way is the triangle?
to the left.
To the left, so I'm gonna do my,
Yeah, right.
Just for Deansies and people come to.
I know you won't be able to do that on the AP exam.
Oh.
Just showing the blank right there. Alright, so now if the government uses its government spending to go up and its taxes to go down, what should happen to this gap?
It'll buzz.
It could close, or could it get a little bit smaller?
Small.
It could, either one of those is a viable option. So if you don't draw everything back at equilibrium, but you show the closing of the gap, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Miss Virginia,
equilibrium
Yes.
might be-
could it ever be past, or pushed past equilibrium to make an expansionary gap?
Yes, could lead to an expansionary gap if they do too much government spending and a few taxes. But anything, if you graph it, anything to the right of it is perfectly fine.
That gap looks like it's about the same size, but that's maybe just me being nitpicky.
You see how mine, I just
Never mind.
closed the gap a little bit, but
I'll
there's,
shut my mouth now.
okay? You see, you could make it perfect equilibrium or put it, anything will pass there, cause anything to the right will actually resolve the issue.
Hey Brian, can you move your head a little bit?
see though?
Okay, you're good, Ryan.
Alright, so now I need to draw my Phillips curve. This is I, what is the bottom line? U. Where should I draw my problem?
At the bottom.
On the bottom, right? Alright, if the government spends and the government taxes less, what happens to this dot? Does it move further down the curve or further up the curve?
Yeah.
Right. This shows me that inflation is low, unemployment is high. Now with the government tools of spending and taxing, we now have a little bit more inflation and less unemployment.
I bet you did. And
Alright, can I flip over? Okay,
Oh, straight. Yeah, exactly. That's the trick. That's the trick. Oh, like the accident, like the-
so what is the Fed run?
Easy expansionary monetary
Easy or expansionary monetary policy. So we could say easy or expansionary monetary policy. So what are they gonna do with the discount rate?
Bring it down.
Bring it down. What are they gonna do with
Calculate.
the reserve requirement?
Bring it
Are they gonna buy or sell? Buy. So when they buy OMOs, what does that do with the money supply?
down. It puts more money in it.
Puts more money in the supply. So if the government increases the money supply, which way does that curve go? To the, they make it now cheaper. Discount rate goes down, reserve requirement goes down, they buy, they give people money.
Go to the right.
Right. Again, will you have to graph the loanable funds impact of the tools? No, we're just gonna say, now that the interest rate is lower, what happens to the demand for money?
Goes up.
The demand for loans increases because the interest rate. What happened to the interest rate? Decreased. They will always ask for that in a verbal statement. So now, because of the Fed policy, what happened to loanable funds?
It goes up.
It increased. What happened to the interest rate? What happened to the money market? So the government needs to spend in this area, right? So does the government put its hand in the bucket, or does the government take its hand out of it? Sounds like we're doing the
Put
hokey
its
pokey.
hands.
It puts its hand in, right? So that's called crowding out or crowding in?
Crowding out.
Crowding out. It makes funds available or unavailable?
Unavailable.
For I, N, C. Do y'all remember what I, N, C is? Businesses, okay. So then, if I were to graph the impact on the PPC, I'm just gonna say capital goods, consumer goods. If the government is borrowing, what happens to my PPC?
It goes in.
Do y'all see how these are the direct opposites of what we did on one chart is the opposite of what we do on the other? So then I need to draw the impact on the long run. So, this is price level. Real GDP. If the government is borrowing, can businesses borrow?
No.
So then which way does my business curve go, the short run aggregate supply? This has an unintended side effect that what happens to business prices. And is that good? No.
So price level drops and production decreases, or price level increases and production decreases.
Then on the other one, like we were like moving long run, what was
Oh, I